Disabled Students Officer. Unfortunately, the candidate in the running for the Ethnic Minority Students Officer, Yemi Kuki, is unable to make it today, so she sends her apologies. So starting off today, we've got the three candidates here, which are, I'll get the names, Rebecca Wallace to my left, then Dennis Shakir, and Ellis Miles Stewart. And they'll be answering any questions here from today's audience, as well as any tweets that come into @BCUSU. And if you can look, any questions that are sent in to the Facebook page, Birmingham City University Students' Union, will all be answered for you. Hashtag lead BCUSU. Okay, so we'll start off today then. The first question we've had that's come in here already. Okay, and we'll start off with saying, how are you going to improve accessibility to support services? And that question was for Rebecca.
Hi, so I would talk to the students, find out what the challenges are in place already that are stopping the services being accessible, and seeing how we can work together to change it. Make sure that all services in the university as a whole are accessible to everyone, regardless of any disability, mental health, no matter what it is that's causing an issue with accessibility. I would look at breaking down that barrier and working together to do it.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thanks very much, Deb. Okay, well, we'll go on to the other questions in a second. Just that tweet came in very quickly there, actually, so we had to answer that. But, of course, we do need yourselves to actually send your pictures in first of all, so we made a slight error there. So if I could kindly start with yourself to give us 1 minute starting from now to pitch your manifesto to us, please.
Yeah. So my name is Rebecca Wallace. I'm running for PP Student Engagement Experience. Sorry. I want to make the university a safe and inclusive space that is accessible to all students. My main three goals are more inclusive food options in the university at a reasonable price that students can afford, better childcare services for student parents, working with students who are doing childcare, and they can also gain experience from that. And yeah.
That's great, Thank you very much. And then on to Dennis, please.
Okay, my name is Dennis, and I'm running for Vice President Student Experience. So my main goals are to make something different. I want people to graduate and to have the experience they never had before. Like, let's take it to the next step. I want students to have stories to tell when they graduate, something more unique. Like, for example, one of my main goals is to make the human versus zombies event, which is going to be 48 hours, and it's going to be epic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. And finally, over to yourself, Ellis.
Hi, I'm Ellis, and I'm running for Vice President Student Experience. What makes me a strong candidate in this election is that I have the ability to develop, voice, engage, and prove that I have experience to run the student body. As part of my campaign, I'm looking to develop a support online confidential service for students who are struggling with or confused with their sexuality or gender, to support the staff with the health and well-being team, and lastly, to improve the services that we have available across campuses so every student has equal opportunities. Thank you.
Ellis, thank you very much. Okay, well, we're going to go back to that question which we had that came in very early today. Obviously, you mentioned it yourself there. So if you could answer that question, do you want me to repeat it for you, the one that came in first thing?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Well, the question here then, Dennis, is how are you going to improve accessibility to support services?
Okay, that's like quite simple. There's a lot of support at uni, and the thing is, not many people know how to reach them. I want one platform, like for example, I want an Instagram account, but not for the student experience person, but for the actual role, like for the role for student experience, where more things are gonna be posted. And for example, like information or engagement posts are gonna be on it, and people will have like a better access to it and what's on, or if they wanna interact directly, so they will have that option.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And to yourself, Ellis.
Yes, well, again, with my first pledge, I'd like to develop a service for students, like a confidential online service for students who aren't comfortable at speaking in public. yesterday, Kirsten, who was representing the LGBT plus officer, rightfully mentioned how there's a lack of approachability with people coming forward and wanting to gain that support. And I think having a service which is discreet so students feel comfortable approaching it is the way forward.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go to our studio audience. Do we have any questions from anyone at the moment? The lady at the front, please.
Hiya. I was just wondering what kind of experience you've got with the SU sort of already, or anything sort of relevant, like how are you going to sort of put that in place, and what are you going to do with the experience you've already got in your position?
Okay. Would Rebecca like to go first, or anyone else?
Yeah, so I've been involved with the Students' Union since I started. I was joined society straight away. I came away to university, so it was kind of creating a new family in a way. And in my second year, I was treasurer of the Doctrine and Fandom Society, which I'm now president of. And I'm also on the committee for the LGBT Society. I've worked in that role with the LGBT staff network, had meetings with the Vice Chancellor, got funding in place, worked on campaigns. I've worked with the Student Union officers on these campaigns. So, yeah, I've been quite involved in the Student Union.
Thank you very much there. And what about yourself, Dennis?
Well, I mean, my first interaction with the university was through the student union. So I started meeting more and more people through the student union. They helped me a lot. Like their welcome week and orientation week were just simply amazing. And that actually inspired me this year to go volunteer as well. And I get to experience what goes behind the organization and stuff like that. And I'm also like an international student buddy, and that really helps like to see how actually people like not everyone, like especially international students, they're not quite confident enough, and it's like a bit of a different approach. But things like the student union, it really helps. It does make a difference. I really believe in it.
Thank you very much. And Ellis, please.
Yes. Okay. Well, in my first year, I played for BCU men's hockey, so I was involved with Team BCU, and from there, although I stepped away from contributing towards it in my second and third year, I have this year started to teach yoga and mindfulness to students and lecturers as well, and it's something that I am learning to have a qualification myself so I can do it officially and properly, and that's something I'd love to introduce more to students. In comparison to the other candidates, I probably have the least experience with the student union, but it doesn't deter away from my motivation and my energy to put myself more forward for the position, I think.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, well, we're going to move on now to another question which we've had that's come in. It says, well, ask yourself about this one, Rebecca. It says, how are you going to make sure you represent all welfare support needs and not just favour a certain cohort of students?
Yeah. Well, obviously, in my time as a student, I've worked a lot with specifically LGBT students. That's the group I'm part of. But I'm very passionate about making sure that it's accessible to everyone, whether there's issues with race, religion, disability. I want to break down those barriers and make sure that everything's accessible. Everyone has the same right to access university. We're paying a lot to be here. We deserve to get the best out of it. It's not about one group, it's about working together.
Fantastic. And Dennis, please.
Well, I mean, equality is like a huge part of the ethics of every person. So I believe that everyone has the same rights. So, I mean, we respect that. I think the student union already respects that. So if we just have more engagement, that would improve everything.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And then finally to yourself, please, Ellis.
Okay. So an idea and an awareness that I'd like to use this platform to speak upon is I'd like to work closely with the women's officer and the LGBT officer as well with regards to domestic abuse. It's something that affects a lot of young people, and I can speak on behalf of that. as a primary example, I've experienced it myself, so I can relate to it tremendously. And and I've had to cope for the past 2 years with post-traumatic stress due to a relationship. So why I'm running for this role is because I do believe that I have the experience in helping people and knowing what it's like to be at the very bottom and know how to be singled out and feel like you're not part of a community. And I think if I was in the position of leadership, then I'd be able to help people.
That's very moving stuff there. Thank you very much, Ellis. Okay, well, we're going to move on now to another question that's come through on our Facebook live stream. Okay, from Carl Horton. He's asked, what advancements do you plan on making in regard to student mental health? Apologies if this has already been asked. I don't think we have particularly, but it says only just logged on. Okay, so if we can ask that question firstly then to Rebecca.
Yeah, I've accessed the student mental health service myself. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't have got to third year, quite frankly. And it is difficult to access, especially if you're in a really low place. And we have a brilliant mental health team. It's underfunded. There's not a lot of staff. There is a long waiting list for people. I think I would want to fight to get more in place, more funding, more resources in place, as well as looking at other areas such as external mental health services and other ways of coping with stress. But I do want to fight for more in the university. I think it's needed, and if we have more mental health support, we're going to have a better student experience, and it's going to reflect better in the university as a whole.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And Dennis, if you can answer that, please.
So, I mean, mental health is a really big issue. But like, for example, from my experience, I won't really go to someone to just seek help. And I'm quite sure that that's the case with most people. So as mental health is quite a problem. I think we need to give guidelines how we can deal with it ourselves rather than actually having people to go seek for them. If we have more of a guideline thing or like a small notebook where you can have like examples how to deal with mental health, how to deal with stress and anxiety, and how you can overcome them, that would help a lot more than just a person who you can actually talk with.
Okay, it's almost like something in something in black and white then, rather than people feeling they have to actually sort of speak about things which maybe at that moment in time they don't necessarily want to do.
I've experienced it myself, and I'm not that keen to go and speak openly about it. I'll rather try to deal with it myself, and I believe that that's the case with most people. So that's why I want to concentrate on that more than anything else.
A basis to build on then. Yes, thank you very much then, Dennis. And Ellis, if you can answer that, please.
So what I'd aim to do is, following Vicky Glynn's efforts to improve self-help techniques, as I mentioned before, I've started and continue to teach yoga and mindfulness, so that would be an avenue that I'd like to focus on, so students can not only help themselves but help other students, therefore taking the pressure off the health and wellbeing team. As Becca already mentioned before, they are understaffed and underfunded, and that is just a technique that I'd like to pursue.
Thank you, Ellis. Okay, well, we've had another question here, which we need to sort of fire across to the three of you. Following on nicely, if you like, from that, it says, what do you think is the biggest issue facing students at the moment? Rebecca, please.
I think that's a difficult one. I think there's such a diverse range of students. The issues facing one student is going to be different than the issues facing another student. For example, like I've said, one of the issues I want to look at is childcare. That's not going to affect all students. I think it's a big issue, but I don't think we could say this is the issue that's most affecting students, because everyone's experience is going to be different.
Okay, so a variety of things then, really.
Yeah.
Okay, and yourself, Dennis?
Well, I totally agree with her, and I think like we can't really cope with one issue. We have to see what are the main ones and actually seek seek for opinion from the students and see what are the things we need to work on, and then we'll work on them more than the other ones.
Thank you very much. And finally then to yourself, Ellis, do you agree that there's more than one issue, or perhaps one maybe that stands out more than any other?
Well, absolutely. I think depending on whether or not you're a student dealing with a disability or you're an international student, you've each got your own personal problem that's getting in the way of you having the best possible experience at university. So, for example, if you have dyslexia or ADHD and you might struggle with essay writing or dissertation thesis writing, which I know is a complete ordeal for everyone at some point of their degree,
It's okay, take your time.
Yeah, sorry, I've just went blank a second. That they get the necessary support from not only having extra time to focus on their studies, but maybe even having a buddy system, and there be incentives for that buddy system put in place. Just to allow everyone to have equal opportunities is what I want to highlight.
That's fantastic. So in many ways, I suppose, with the buddy system, it would in fact maybe sort of dissolve some issues for the person doing the buddying themselves, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
That's brilliant. Okay, so do we have any further questions from our audience in the studio? No? Okay, then I'm just going to see if we've had anything further that's come through on our live stream or indeed our Twitter page. And we have Kathy Zoe Byra back from yesterday with something here on our Facebook page. She's asked, how do you help increase I think so we've touched on this earlier with mental health. How do you help increase awareness of mental health issues? Yesterday's interviewees felt that it was taboo topic, with one candidate citing that it's not just crazy people. How would you educate staff, students, and improve the university's policies on this? Rebecca?
I think it's definitely something we need to talk about. At least the students that I've interacted with in my time at uni, a lot of them have mental health issues. I have them myself. And it's not something we should be afraid to talk about. I know there's a mental health week coming up, working with the mental health coordinator, working with societies and directly with students. Just be open about it, talk about it, run campaigns that talk about it. With staff, make sure that staff are having training on mental health issues. A lot of the time, your lecturers will see you a lot, and especially my course, it has a lot of contact time. So my lecturers see me on a regular basis. They know when I'm having a bad day. I'm very open with my lecturers about it. But making sure that they have training and they know what to do in that situation.
That's wonderful. So in many ways, the training would sort of self-perpetuate, because then people who may not necessarily be experiencing it at the time later on may start experiencing it, and they, having had that training before, it will prepare them, dare I say it, should the need arise. Okay, and yourself, please, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, we need more awareness for mental health, and I believe that everyone experiences some type of issues of mental health, and it's important to know that whoever it is, they're not alone. We are not alone. Like, everyone experiences it at some point. That's totally normal. So I think we need to spread a bit more message that that's totally normal. If you feel awful, that's really totally normal.
Yeah, it's almost embracing any sort of feelings you have, you know, however, no matter how bad they are.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, we're just humans. Like, we feel things, and that's part of our nature.
Absolutely right. And Ellis, finally to yourself, please.
Sorry. So again, I don't want to have to repeat what my candidates have already said, but I think focusing on, again, as I said before, it's a very similar response. How learning self-help techniques and being able to share them with your peers, whether they are your lecturers or your fellow students, and knowing that there is a sense of community with it. And I think that would, take the pressure off the health and well-being team as well, if people are more aware of how to help each other and how to help themselves, and realize that they aren't alone, and that there is support, and there are people who are feeling or have felt exactly the same as you. Thank you.
That's wonderful, thank you. And so in many ways just to sort of form an alliance then, by the sounds of it, against such issues. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up in just a second with our three candidates. Just going to check again. Yes, one other question we have here, put sort of simply, if you like. It says, if elected, what would be your first campaign? We'll start again with Rebecca, please.
I think the first thing I would probably, obviously there's a range of things I want to focus on, but I think the first one would be the food options in the uni. I've been out yesterday, I've talked to students what they want, and there's quite simple ways of including more options. For example, I talked to some of the international students the other day, and one of them, their response was, can we have rice? Like, that's not difficult to do. And when they do more inclusive options, it tends to be at a higher price. I know recently I was talking to someone who said that the vegan option, I think it was, in the campus shop has been taken out of the meal deal, making it more expensive for them.
Really?
And I don't understand why that needs to be a thing. So that's what I'd look at. I want to make it, make sure that everyone can have something that they can eat, that's nutritious. And for international students, something that they want to eat. I know I'm not from very far, I'm from Northern Ireland, but I know when I go to a supermarket and I see the Northern Irish section, I get something, it tastes like home. And that can make the transition to university easier. And it's a simple ways like that we can make the student experience better for everyone.
In many ways, quite a talking point as well, as you say, with the accent and going into the shops and things like that. Okay, well, thanks, George West, for sending that question over. So, on to yourself then, please, Dennis.
Well, one of my first campaign would be like something like the Instagram platform, and I want to make maybe one of the first polls gonna be an opinion. What unique experience do you want to see at uni? Because my main goal is to make amazing events where you can actually tell about it, speak about it, something more engaging where you can meet friends and maybe actually make new friends there as well. So that's one of my main goals.
Networking by the sounds of it. And that sounds a very good idea. Okay, and finally on to yourself then, Ellis, please.
Yes. Okay, so it would be my first pledge, which is to develop some sort of confidential online service for students to be able to share their thoughts or feelings and understand or get any questions, any confusing questions that they may have that they don't feel comfortable about talking in public. And even with regards to international students, because on the theme of accepting who you are and your sexuality and your gender, obviously there's cultural differences. And although being a gay white male living in Britain, it isn't perfect, there's still homophobia present, but I'm fortunate in the fact that I am a white British gay man in comparison to people who live in a country where it's illegal or it's immoral. And for those students who are coming to this country and coming to this city, this culturally diverse city, it's about creating a safe environment that they can experience.
That's wonderful, and obviously helping in many ways with the transition as well, so into living in the UK. Okay, well, that's it then for the three candidates here for the Vice President Student Experience. So if we can say a special thank you then, please, to Rebecca Wallace, Dennis Shakir, and Ellis Miles Stewart. And remember, of course, that you can vote for these three when voting starts on Friday, or indeed, if there's anything you haven't been happy with, that you've heard or seen today, you can, of course, vote for the Ron option, which is the reopen of the nomination. Okay, then, so thank you very much to the three of them.